Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Reverend Connie Simon. Located on the ancestral lands of the Adena, Hopewell, Miami, and Shawnee people, our urban community welcomes all with love, supports learning and spiritual growth, serves our wider community, and works for justice, equity, and inclusion. We're glad you're here this morning. During the service, you may hear mention of programs or other things that interest you. At the end, there will even be announcements of further upcoming events. If you'd like to learn more about these events, our community, or any of our programs, please contact us at member-care@firstuu.com. We begin our time together by lighting our chalice, the chosen symbol of our faith, with these words by Crystal Hogan. We light this chalice to honor our work, to celebrate our community, and to bring hope and determination to our mission in the wider world. Please join us now in singing along with our vision song. The words will appear on your screen.
Mel and Mo's Marvelous Balancing Act. Written by Nicola Winstanley. Illustrated by Marianne Farrer. Mel and Mo were twins. They loved one another and looked just the same. I like ice cream. I like the cone. But they liked different things. I like the rain. I like the sun. I like the tune. I like the beat. And as they got older, they grew further and further apart. I want it pink. I want it green. Until they fought all the time because they could never agree. I get up early. I get up late. When they grew up, Mel bought a tidy house and took over the family umbrella store. I went to make things. Mo ran away to the sunny seaside circus. I want to perform. For many years, Mel made sturdy umbrellas that never blew inside out or upside down. And Mo circled the big top on a unicycle, a poodle on each shoulder, to thunderous applause. But tastes and fashions change. And one day, Theodora Tweedle's spectacular raincoats and roller skates came to town. After that, Rainy day roller skating in spectacular raincoats became all the rage. No one wanted Mel's umbrellas anymore, and no one cared to watch Mo unicycle with poodles. It was old hat. Mel began to make bigger and more beautiful umbrellas. Mo began to learn a more exciting trick. But although the rain fell every day, Mel didn't sell a single umbrella. Mo fell every day too, off the high wire and into the big net below. Mel and Mo both needed something, but neither of them could think what it was. This is just what I needed. This is just what I needed. After that, Mel made the world's best super duper handmade umbrellas for all the performers in Mo and Theodora's brand new roller skating umbrella circus. Despite their differences, for the rest of their lives, Mel and Mo lived happily together, in balance. It's been nearly 2 years since the pandemic reached U.S. shores. The world today is much different than it was then. The world will be very different 2 years from now. The only way we're going to make it through is if we rely on each other's unique skills and work together. I wonder what unique skills you possess.
This is the time of our service when we honor the joys and the sorrows that have happened to us in our lives. And we begin with our joys. As difficult as they may seem sometimes to remember, good things are still happening in this world. The sun is rising. The sky is sometimes blue. The birds are singing, and we are still here together. Children are being born every day and learning to walk and speaking their first words. And people are falling in love and remembering love and finding love anew. These are the things that help us through our days when sometimes things are sad. Over the last week, we've seen people struggle with natural disasters, with wildfires in California and flooding and ice and snow all over the country. For those who are dealing with environmental stressors, we offer a prayer. For those who have lost loved ones, for those who are nearing the ends of their lives, we offer our love and our kindness. The way that we do this here in this church on Sunday mornings, we have this bowl of water. The water here is partially from water that members have brought and visitors have brought into the church over the last few years with their blessings and what they bring to this community. In this water, there is love and peace and hope and joy and creativity and music and lots of love. The stones represent those joys and sorrows that we carry in our hearts. So this morning, we drop a stone for all of our sorrows, that the healing power of the water may soften our sadness. We drop a stone for our joys, that this powerful water may amplify our gladness. And then for all of those joys and sorrows that are carefully guarded in our hearts, for those that we dare not speak aloud, we drop one last stone. One last stone. This morning, our flowers are given to us by Karen Galloway in memory of her husband, Dick, on what would have been their wedding anniversary. We miss Dick very much. And please join me now in a moment of silent meditation, reflection, and prayer as we gaze upon these flowers and share the memories of those who have been part of our lives. Each month, we designate our Sunday plate collections to benefit a special cause or local social justice organization. This month, our beneficiary is the new Center for Social Justice, a Black-led initiative housed at the Urban League in Cincinnati, here in Avondale. The center was launched in the summer of 2020 in direct response to police violence that included the tragic killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Police brutality and the resulting race-based trauma has a profound effect on the psychological and physical well-being of Black and brown individuals, families, and communities. The center works to prevent police violence in our region before it occurs again by partnering with communities and police departments to accelerate reforms in local jurisdictions. In addition to police reform, the center works on addressing voter suppression and emerging social justice issues. At our service on January 9th, Executive Director Raquel Howard-Smith shared what it looks like to move from protest to policy and her perspective on how we must center the voices and solutions developed by communities directly impacted by systemic injustice. If you would like to support the work of the Center for Social Justice, you may do so in a number of ways. First, you may give by text, by texting the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. You may also click Give Now if you have access to our Breeze Church member system. You can give online at firstuu.com, or you can mail a check to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. Be sure to write Center for Social Justice in the memo line. If this is your first time visiting us virtually, we invite you to let the virtual plate pass you by. Your presence is your gift to us. Our offering will now be gratefully received. I want to tell you the story of a faith. Now, we're not going to go all the way back to the very beginning, just to its earliest days on this continent. Almost 400 years ago, a group of devout European Christians who settled here decided that they wanted to talk about how they could organize themselves religiously. For months and months, they talked about how they'd set themselves up in individual congregations and what the different roles would be within those congregations. There would be elders and teachers and specific roles for ministers and roles for women. Everybody had a specific role. They agreed on what types of behavior would be acceptable for those who wanted to be in their congregations and what wouldn't be okay. They talked about how they would work out their differences and what would happen if their differences couldn't be resolved. And they agreed that individual congregations should work together for their collective good. And it worked really, really great for about 150 years anyway. They were still okay with their organizational principles, but, these folks started realizing that there were some theological disagreements happening that might be too big to ignore. So for these Unitarians and other Congregationalists, there became terms of, well, you're a liberal Christian and you're an Orthodox Christian. And the two of them just couldn't get along. And in the early 1800s, those liberal Christians who had been called Unitarians, mainly as an insult, embraced the name and, as we say, kept it moving from there. This new Unitarian faith spread. It spread for a long time. It advanced from the New England area up and down the East Coast, and it moved west. In fact, that's how this very congregation came to be, as part of Western expansion. But everything didn't quite stay smooth in their relationships with one another. They tried creating an American Unitarian Association after a quite protracted lawsuit over who was the church. Is the church the leaders? Is the church the people? Like, what is it? Well, in the end, they decided, or it was decided by the courts, that the church is really who's in the building, the people who stick around and do the work, not the people who leave. But that still didn't mean that in this group of folks there wouldn't be more difference and more diversity of thought, especially theologically. The next group of people that we saw come out were the Transcendentalists. Now, these were Unitarians, part of this same tradition that we've been talking about, who saw and felt God everywhere, in all creation, and especially in themselves. They didn't need a strict interpretation of God. God is in nature. And one of their most famous Transcendentalist sermons that is still read today is by Reverend Theodore Parker, The Transient and the Permanent in Christianity. We also heard from Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau and Margaret Fuller, all of whom were prominent Transcendentalists. So some of these congregations had a mainly Transcendentalist feel. Some were still very, very, even more liberal, and some were still a little Orthodox, but they were still under the same umbrella. So we keep thinking back to our story with Mel and Mo and their differences and how they began to argue and they just couldn't get along. Well, that happened again with our group when we started talking about, well, are we really even still Christian? Those who had expanded to the West were interested in the 5 points of Unitarianism: the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, the leadership of Jesus, salvation by character, and progress of mankind onward and upward. Gender binary language aside, very, very kind of radical in a way. Then we had some folks who were the exact opposite, who said, no, this should be totally open. We need to do more thinking, forward thinking. We need to stick with our strong Christianity roots, stick to our roots, and do what we can to advance the causes of Christianity. So things came to a head in the late 1880s with an attempt to promulgate a religion in harmony with the things most commonly believed. This was an effort led by William Channing Gannett. And it kind of worked. We stayed together. We did not break apart. We had different views, and still our team stayed together. But it didn't totally gel, because then we had humanism. Humanism was yet another divergence of theological thought, where people believed that the universe is self-existing and not created at all, that there are no supernatural or cosmic guarantees of human values, that nothing human is alien to the religious, and that the goal should be a free and universal society in which people cooperate for the common good. Some churches adopted a very strict humanist personality. Others were still very traditional Christian. Some were incredibly liberal Christians, and still they managed to exist under the same umbrella, recognizing the beauty that their diversity brought to them. Now, at the same time this Unitarian faith was going through its things, so too were another group of folks who called themselves Universalist. They'd been doing their thing as long as the Unitarians. Theologically, they believed that everyone carried the spark of the divine and that everyone would be saved. But they still had their own internal disagreements too. There was a subset of Universalists who called themselves Restorationists, who believed that everyone would be saved, but their souls needed to be restored before they could enter heaven. Today, you may notice that there are some churches that have the name Restoration within the name of the church. That's where that comes from. So fast forward to the 1900s, to really modern times where we are. We've been looking at the Unitarians and the Universalists and their numbers. Their numbers were kind of dwindling. Their religion wasn't as popular for a number of reasons, some political, some demographic, all kinds of reasons. They begin to think about merging. Maybe we should get together. They first talked about this in the 1890s, but it didn't happen. Wasn't time yet. The topic came up again in the 1930s. Didn't happen yet. There were some efforts to combine youth religious education. Those two things were able to work together, but we weren't quite ready to come together to be one yet. And then finally, in 1961, Unitarians and Universalists realized that together they could advance liberal religion and truly have an impact on the transformation of society. The vote officially happened in 1958, but wasn't effective until 1961. This newly consolidated group kept that framework of being together that was established way back in 1648, declining to create a pope or a bishop-like role in favor of organizing as an association of congregations that work together for the collective good of all. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't still have theological differences or that things don't get hard sometimes. Congregations have come and gone. And the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations is still here. We're all here together. And what we have learned is that together we can achieve more. That phrase, team together, everyone achieves more, it's a little cliche, but it really fits for us. For the Unitarian Universalist Association, we are able to do more together than we could possibly do a part. We have a mission of equipping congregations for vital ministries, of training and credentialing leaders, both professional and lay leaders, and of amplifying the power of our collective religious voice to advance UU values at the national and international levels. Now you may ask, well, how do we do all those things? Our churches are individual congregations. How can that possibly work? And why would we want to do that? Why would we want to give up our individuality for an association setup? Well, I'll tell you. It's because together everyone achieves more. Our UUA is able to equip congregations for vital ministries by providing leader lab resources, by doing training, by providing religious education curricula, by supporting the development and credentialing of musicians and ministers and religious leaders, by giving us an opportunity to gather together. All of these things support our mission to equip congregations for vital ministries. We can learn a lot from one another, both inside these walls and outside these walls. There's so much we can learn from one another by being together. When we talk about training and credentialing leaders, I've mentioned the ministerial credentialing, musicians and religious educators. Well, there's also programming and credentialing for church administrators, for membership professionals. There are courses and workshops and all kinds of opportunities to learn where members of individual congregations can come together to share ideas, to learn new things, and to broaden their own experience. By bringing more ideas back to their congregations, they can make their congregations much more vibrant and more alive. And finally, together we can amplify the values of Unitarian Universalism by using our collective religious voice at the national and international level. We saw that happen with UU the Vote. Hundreds of thousands of voters participated in the most recent election cycle who would not otherwise have been registered or been able to participate due to the efforts of individuals in individual congregations working together as an association of congregations. Our Side with Love program helps us work with environmental justice, reproductive justice, immigration. We are able to do so much more by working together. We are able to work on ending and dismantling white supremacy culture, ending racism, ending homophobia, and ending all oppression against those who have been marginalized in the past, even within our own walls. Through the UU College of Social Justice, we offer immersion programs for those who are interested in getting their hands dirty, getting their feet on the ground, and doing the work of justice. We have an office at the United Nations. We have an international office that promotes Unitarian Universalism and its message throughout the world. And Beacon Press, an amazing organization that's able to make sure that the voices of those who would do the work of justice are heard in our world. So altogether, there's so much that we do as an association of congregations. There's so much that we do as individuals within our congregations. And the reason that we keep doing it is because it helps us all grow. We are so much more creative when we work together. We are so much more diverse when we work together. We come up with better ideas. We have more energy. We experience less individual stress and burnout because no one has to carry the load on their own. Many hands make light work, as the saying goes. And so it is when we work together as a congregation and as an association of congregations. When we bring all of our individual skills and talents to bear, we can accomplish so much more than if we go it alone. Now, this has been a fairy tale or a little story of a faith that has no end, because, as I mentioned, we are still here. There is so much more work for us to do. There is more growth we can experience. There's more to transform in our society. Oppression and racism and homophobia, all of those things still exist in our world. There's much work for us to do. And together, we can do it. Together, we all will achieve more.
I think we all need a pep talk. The world needs to stop being boring. Yeah, you. Boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're gooder than that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, aren't we all on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. My pants broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost. But what if there really were two paths? I want to be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Journey said, don't stop believing unless you dream stupid. Then you should get a better dream. I think that's how it goes. Get a better dream and keep going. Keep going, and keep going. Will Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he did quit. No, he retired. Yeah, that's he retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. And I love Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. So everybody's doing to give the world a reason to dance. So get to it. You've just been pep talked. Create something that will make the world awesome. Play ball.
You're bright as the sun in our own sky. You are a star in all our eyes. Let your light shine on. Let your light
As we've come to the end of our service, we extinguish our chalice by reciting together the words that appear on your screen. Together we say, "We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again." I'd like to share with you now some announcements of events happening in the First Church community. Today at 11:30, our congregational meeting will happen on Zoom. That is why we have made our service a little shorter today, to give everyone the opportunity to get settled. The doors to the Zoom room will open at 11 a.m. If you have not already registered through Breeze, please send an email very quickly to board@firstuu.com or register through Breeze so that you can be sent the Zoom information. You must be registered in order to vote in this meeting. Also, our Heart and Hand auction is coming up again. Donations are needed for this 40th annual auction. Food, gift cards, services, crafts, vacation, getaways, parties, dinners, services, and so much more. Contact auction@firstuu.com to donate or to ask questions. Tomorrow is the last day to register for Owning Your Religious Past. This is a lifespan faith development program where we will be revisiting our identity as religious folks. As the author of the program says, don't you think it's time to revisit the religious spaces and people from your childhood in a way that promotes greater self-understanding and personal peace? If you'd like to participate, please register by the end of the day tomorrow. The first class is on Tuesday at 7 p.m.